Just wait. Not ready yet.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Diablo 4 build guide. Now, I've had a few beers, so you're going to have to bear with me, but let's get into this build and I'll show you exactly what I'm using for PvP. Now, this thing is absolutely dominating for me right now, and it's not so much the DPS and stuff like that, it's how you actually use this build. So let's get into this straight away. You guys love that type of stuff, so let's go. We'll start with the skill tree first. I'm using Flare. Just to, I don't really use it too much for PvP, but I just have it there. Now, I'm using Whirlwind, very important. We are going to talk about this in a second. I am using this one, the Vulnerable, three points into that. I'm using Ground Stomp. This is very important because we're going to use this to stun our PvP enemies. Then we're using the Rallying Cry. Now, I'm not going to really go over these specific things here because you probably already know what these are, these little offshoots here. But I'll quickly tell you that this is a bleed build, okay? And then I do have some into Thorns. Now, the only reason I have some into Thorns is for PvE. So you might want to take these out of the slots for like PvP. It really just depends, but I just kept it on because it actually works a little, it does work a little bit for PvP, but more or less by the time you've killed the enemies, you're not really gonna, Thorns isn't really gonna matter too much, although it can help actually. If your health is really low and they go to hit you, it could potentially kill them if you know what Thorns does. We have Warcry, and then we have these ones here. Berserking is very important with this build. I have 3 points into Booming Voice. Now this is where it gets a little bit interesting. You can have no points into this or whatever. I just put 2 points into this one purely for damage, 3 points into this one purely for damage, 1 point into this one. Bleeding slows enemy. Now, what I would recommend you actually do is, for PvP, is put more into this and try and get this up, but this is what I have right now. And then we have your bleeding effects deal 18%. And then we also have Death Blow, which is really important. What I would do if I was you, and I'm probably going to test this out, is I would take the Thorns points and I'll put them into this and make people slower up to 30%. But I just want to show you this build. I haven't actually perfected it quite right yet. Down here I have 3 points into this. While using two-handed weapons, you deal 15% increase critical strike damage. And then we have your skills using bludgeoning weapons deal 15% increased damage. So I am using a bludgeoning weapon. And then we have this one as well for bludgeoning. And this one increased berserk damage. What I'll do is I'll go over my gear real quick. This isn't really about the gear and the skills, it's more about how you actually use them. So this one is pretty straightforward. We've got some stats, dex, max life, poison resistance, doesn't really matter too much, poison resistance. And then that is the lucky hit, is pretty good. And then the Thorns gem. These are the stats here. You can pause the video if you like. I'm not going to go over every single one. Pretty straightforward. We have this one here. I would like to upgrade my gear actually. A lot of the gear item power is quite low for my level. We have this one here. We have this one here. And this is the bludgeoning weapon that I'm using. Very, very good bludgeoning weapon. And I have these two here. I don't use them, but actually no, sorry, I do use them on the flare. It's these ones here. And then this weapon here. Even if you don't use the weapon, it still counts, all the perks. So gain 3,000 Thorns is pretty good while berserking. So you don't really need the points into the Thorns on the skill tree if you don't want to, because of this. If you have this though, this was hard to get. These are my rings. Okay, and then I'll quickly go over the Paragon. Oh, I'm going to do that anyway. My Paragon is pretty standard. I'm not going to go over every single one, but I have vulnerable damage. And then I have this one. Damage to bleeding, 20% damage to bleeding enemies. Killing a bleeding enemy has 10% chance to grant berserking. This is irrelevant for PvP. So what you would do is, I would recommend for PvP, you would do something like enemies that have been affected by your bleed for 3 seconds or more take 12% increased damage from you. If you're going to do purely PvP, that would be a better one. Okay, just keep that in mind. And then I have 10% damage while berserking, etc. Pretty straightforward. Now, this is the key to using this PvP build. If you don't land these shots perfectly, you're probably going to get killed. So the first thing you need to do is ground stomp. This is important. You want to do ground stomp first. This is going to stun the enemy. So do ground stomp first, okay? And then do your shouts. And then do your shouts, and then do whirl. And then you can usually finish them off with the death blow, okay? So if you do all of those at once, right, you can kill them instantly. So I'll show you again faster, just so you kind of understand when the timer goes down. Okay, so you want to do ground stomp, your shouts, whirlwind, a little bit of whirlwind, and then boom. And you should be able to kill them if they're around about the same level as you instantly with that. And then what happens next is if you don't, and their health is low, you can try chase them and just do this, flurry, flay, and you'll hit him, you'll tap him, you'll hit him, and then do whirlwind. Or just wait, pull back, run away, let your cooldowns come down, and try again. Alright guys, that's my PvP build that I've been slaying with right now in Diablo 4.